welcome back to another episode of Soul Wisdom Transitions, where we explore the various stages of personal transformation and spiritual growth. I am your host, Terry, and today we are going to explore something that I have had the opportunity, and I use that term loosely, but I have had the opportunity to experience a lot in the past few weeks, and that is the statement of feel the fear, take a breath, and do it anyway. So, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's a powerful expression that embodies the idea of facing your fears head on, despite feeling scared or anxious or nauseous. This phrase encourages individuals to not let the fear they have hold them back from pursuing their goals and their dreams, or taking actions in situations where they may feel uncertain or intimidated. So it acknowledges that feeling fear, it's a natural human emotion, especially when stepping out of your comfort zone or trying something new, but it emphasizes the importance of moving forward, regardless of that fear. The underlying message is about personal growth, courage, resilience, and suggesting that overcoming fear can lead to the empowerment, new opportunities, and a more fulfilling life. So feel the fear and do it anyway is a concept that was popularized by the self-help book by Dr. Susan Jeffers, and it involves highlighting the key strategies and insights for overcoming the fear and building personal power. For me, feel the fear and do it anyway is a concept that I learned through my training with Jack Canfield. Some of you are familiar with Jack. He is the co-author of Chicken Soup of the Soul and the entire series of the Chicken Soup series. And one of Jack's success principles is literally feel the fear and do it anyway. So a lot of times we feel the fear. It's an automatic reaction. And that leads us back to the stories that we tell ourselves about limiting beliefs and what triggers us. So you may get the opportunity to speak to a networking group and promote your business, and yet public speaking is something you think you couldn't possibly do. And that's usually because of a message that we learned when we were little. For instance, stop talking. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. Yeah, that's very hurtful, and it wounds us to the core. It's a message that we will take with us throughout our lifetime. So getting up to speak publicly and share your thoughts, your opinions, and your wisdom goes against the story that you're telling yourself. Oh my God, I couldn't possibly, I learned nobody wants to hear what I have to say. And how stifling is that? Because what you have to share, even if it helps just one person who's listening at the time, you may have just turned that person's life around by the wisdom that you shared. So it's okay to feel the fear. And it's also okay to do it anyway. And if you trip, if you stumble over your words, if you forget what you're going to say, own it. Audiences love vulnerability. And that's something that I'm dealing with right now. As I said in the beginning, I've had the opportunity, using air quotes, to feel the fear and do it anyway for the last couple of weeks. As some of you know, I am a contestant in the 2024 Miss Colorado Senior America pageant. It's for women 60 and older. And growing up, I felt, and I got the messages, that I wasn't as pretty as my sister. I wasn't as popular as my sister. At the dinner table, it was Dad's opinion and no other, so my voice didn't matter. And these are all perceptions these are my perceptions. After writing my book, my sister called me and she literally said to me, did we grow up in the same house? Because my perceptions were not her perceptions. Fair enough. She didn't get the messages I got. She didn't hear the things that I heard in the same way. We're all different. We all hear different messages. But feeling the fear of something and not doing it is stifling your authenticity. And we really need to start unraveling the stories that we tell ourselves. In this pageant that I am, my talent portion is a 2.5-minute presentation on unraveling our stories. And one of the things that I say is that we all have stories, happy stories, sad, amazing, traumatic, heartbreaking, and the heaviest stories that we all carry are those that feed our limiting beliefs. So your automatic reaction to fear, and it's a legitimate emotion, but there's not a saber-toothed tiger waiting to devour you as you walk out on stage. So feeling the fear, don't eat the whole meal in one bite. Take little bits. So, for instance, if you have anxiety about public speaking, reach out to me and join me on my podcast. Spotify, Apple, all of those, they're all audio. I do take the raw footage and put it on my YouTube channel. So that's your chance to, in a safe environment, put yourself out there and see yourself on camera. I've been doing this podcast for a year now. I'm much more comfortable on camera than I was when I first started. And you grow from acknowledging the fear and taking a little step and do it anyway. What's the worst that can happen? It's not like you're jumping out of a plane without a parachute. Now, something for me, the fear that would absolutely paralyze me is jumping out of a plane in tandem with multiple parachutes. I have no need for speed. Just ask my husband, who has watched me on a ski run. So the fear that we feel is, it's a story that we tell ourselves. It started when we were young. It could have been rejection, abandonment, not good enough, all the same stories that we tell ourselves over and over again. And it's always going to be present, regardless of your expertise or situation. So even though I have technically, or at least I tell myself that I have already unraveled my stories, I still get triggered. And there is that fear that I'm not good enough to be included. A case in point was Just a few weeks ago, my networking group, someone reached out looking for an equine coach, which is exactly what I do, and nobody recommended me. And it was just like, okay, I've been in this group for 3 years and nobody thought of me. So yes, I was triggered. And I had to sit with it for a while, and it wasn't a fear. It was more of a sad familiarity. Nobody thought of me. I wasn't included. Now, could I have put myself out there? Sure, I could have. But I chose not to. And that's part of the story that I tell myself. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. And yet, here I am on a successful podcast talking to an audience of I don't know how many. And if I touch just one person today, then I feel totally fulfilled. So starting a podcast, that was a fear. I did it anyway. Becoming a contestant in the Miss Senior America pageant was a total fear. I am not a pageant girl. I don't do bling. I don't do evening gowns. Thank goodness there are no bathing suits. That would have been a deal breaker. So, I did it anyway, and I'm having so much fun. Am I triggered? Absolutely. I went head to head with the talent coach a week or so ago. She was as frustrated with me as I was with her, and that's fine. I knew it was a trigger. I didn't leave the pageant. I didn't walk off in a huff. I just moved to the side of the room and sat down and took my shoes off. Okay, I'm done. So it is part of a fear, and I'm doing it anyway. Last Monday, we got to go to the studio where the pageant is going to be held, and it's probably a 400 or 500 seat theater, which is much less intimidating than some huge venue. So it was like, I've walked the stage before. I've presented on Jack Canfield's stage to more people than this. I can do this. So I felt the fear, and I do it anyway. So, there's another saying that people share is, well, that went right out of my head. What is it? Life happens on the other side of your comfort zone. That's where the fear is. So dip your toe in the water. See what it's like. Take a small bite. If you don't like it, spit it out. No big deal. Instead of talking to a room full of 500 people like I'm going to do next weekend, join me on my podcast. Talk to me on the screen. You don't know how many people are listening, and that's okay. But get comfortable being on camera. Because, as we all know from social media, and there's always a camera in your face, one way or the other, whether you want to or not, just be comfortable with it. And if you trip up and slip up, and like happened to me just a moment ago, forget what you were going to say. So what? It happens to everybody. Nobody's perfect. I'm not sitting here looking at you and reading from a teleprompter. The way I work is I have bullet points and I wing it. So it's just, honor your authentic self and figure out what it is, when you get that fear, what's the story? It all goes back to stories. What's the story? When did it start? When was that fear message written on your whiteboard, on your personal whiteboard? You've heard me talk about that before. So fear can be anything from getting in the water, aging, as I said, public speaking, dancing. going to the gym, going to a yoga class for the first time. All of these things can be fearful. Just if you didn't learn how to ski when you were little, getting on skis for the first time as an adult is terrifying. I've done that. It's like, oh my God. And what I did, because as I said, I have absolutely no need for speed. My husband, boyfriend at the time, God bless him, he went with me on the bunny hill, and I would go down the bunny hill to a point, literally purposely fall over, take a ski off, turn, put the ski back on, go across to the other side, purposely fall over, take the ski off, turn, put the ski back on. I did this all the way down the hill. I think I did 2 runs. At the end of the second run, when we got finally down to the bottom, I said to Peter, honey, I think I'm good. Why don't you go ski? I'm going to go into the bar and get a hot chocolate because I don't drink. And he looked so relieved because he was going to get to ski, and he's good skier. So he stayed with me for a couple of runs. I tried it. No need for speed. This is too fast, too fast, too fast, fall over. Too fast, too fast, too fast, fall over. But I tried it. And what I found out is that I don't like to ski. And that's okay, but I tried it. So I faced my fear, I did it anyway, and I have never done it since. So what is it, something fearful that's holding you back? Mountain biking, not something I want to do, but why not? Roller skating, line dancing, salsa dancing. Just the little joyful things that we're afraid to try. Is it perhaps because, oh my God, I don't know how and I'll look ridiculous? So what if you look ridiculous as long as you're having fun? I mean, some of the most, ridiculous dancers are having a blast. And you can't help but enjoy them enjoying the experience. So any of that which keeps you from enjoying something, just give it a try. And like I said, take a little bite, dip your toe in, find out what it's like. So instead of feeling the fear and shrinking, getting all closed up and just huddled in, and it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Feel the fear. Sit with it. Just be friendly with it. It's like, wow, this really terrifies me. Where is that coming from? When did I first get fearful of this? It could be you were trying to water ski, and the first time you tried to stand up on the skis, because everybody made it look so easy, you were pulled over and went face down slap into the water. And it hurt. All right, well, that didn't work. Can you take some lessons? Same thing with surfing. I imagine surfing is the same thing. I have never tried it. But, all these things that we keep ourselves from doing because we're afraid. And is there something that you're not doing in your business or your career? Getting up and doing a presentation at work. Oh my God. But wait a minute, don't you know what you're talking about? Why not share that with the other executives or the other managers or the other worker bees? I've got a better plan. Or don't bring it up in a meeting. Take your boss aside and say, hey, I was thinking about this. What do you think? Now, they may not like your idea, but you felt your fear, you offered it up anyway, and they may say, wow, Terry, that's really interesting. Can you do some research and expand on that and help me understand better how this will benefit the company? You never know. So feel the fear and do it anyway. And by doing that, you learn to trust your ability. You learn to trust your soul wisdom. Had to work it in there somewhere on this episode. And it builds your self-confidence and your self-esteem. Even if it's not accepted, you did it. So how cool is that? So just, remember that, it's your power and your soul wisdom within that can transform your fear into an achievement, happiness, and joy. And if you don't sit with the fear first, get comfortable with it, just say, this is interesting. Where is this coming from? I'm going to do it anyway. And most likely, whatever happens, it's not loss of life. It's not brain surgery. Don't feel the fear and do it anyway with any kind of medical practice that you are not qualified for. But what is that fear that's keeping you from trying or living life, or, even just, gosh, I always liked to write when I was little. I used to make up these stories. I'm an award-winning author. Who would have thought that? Because I sat down, I felt the fear, and I did it anyway. I'm a pageant contestant. I felt the fear, and I did it anyway. I'm a podcast host. I felt the fear, and I did it anyway. Some things work, some things don't. I'm giving you 3 examples of things that actually worked. So give it some thought, sit with your fear, figure out what little bite you can take, or what little dip of the toe you can do to just get started. Because the fear, and here's one that's might trumps everything. There's a new catchphrase in social media, fear of missing out. Does that fear trump your fear of not doing it in the first place? Are they conflicting fears? Maybe they can learn to live together. And by overcoming one fear, you can also overcome the fear of missing out. Give it some thought. I'd love for you to reach out and talk to me if you want to be a podcast guest. Face your fear of being on camera. You can contact me through the show notes, and I'd love to have you as a guest on future episodes. If you have any questions, please reach out. And if I can help you in any way, I'm always here. The text and email lines are open. Just don't text me at 3:30 in the morning. Other than that, I'm pretty wide open. So I hope this helps. I hope it gives you something to think about. And that concludes our episode for today. So thank you for turning in to Soul Wisdom Transmissions. Remember, as you navigate through the twists and turns of life transitions, trust in the wisdom of your soul. Embrace the lessons, honor the growth, and always remain open to the guidance that comes your way. Until we reconvene for our next soul-stirring conversation, may you continue to blossom into the highest version of yourself, embrace the beauty of your journey, and always be guided by the whispers of your soul. Get comfortable with your fear and do it anyway.